So welcome everyone. Thank you so much for joining today's session, How to Spot Unexpected Competitors and Brand Growth Opportunities. As I just said, this webinar will last 45 minutes and we will send the recording and slides after this session. Please share all your questions in the chat and the questions tab. So let's start by introducing today's speakers. If we can get to the next slide. Thank you so much. That was great timing. So let's start by me, if you will. So I am Aurore, a proud marketing manager at Ipsos Synthesio, and today I have the great responsibility to guide you through today's webinar. So that means answer your questions, but also provide you with the recording and slide, and maybe share some awkward joke that nobody asked for. Next to me, we have Sandro, Chief Innovation and Product Development Officer at Ipsos Synthesio. He is a social intelligence and market research expert and a frequent speaker inside and outside Ipsos Synthesio. He's been named in the Social Intelligence Lab Social Intelligence Insider 50 Pioneers list, a list of the 50 most influential people in social analytics around the globe last year. Speaking about the Social Intelligence Lab, I know some of you are familiar with this organization, and they're throwing the second edition of the Observe Summit in April, which we will be sponsoring. So I hope we can meet a lot of you there in April. And best for last, Andrew is Ipsos Synthesio Global Solutions Engineering Director. Beyond his rich expertise in social data and data hybridization, Andrew helps global brands answer their most important business questions with social intelligence. Now, the first to guess how many times I said social intelligence in the past minute in the chat will earn a free report at the end of the session. Okay, well, before we dive into today's agenda and content, I would like to briefly introduce you to Ipsos Synthesio. So we offer this beautiful mix of human and machine intelligence to help brands make better and faster business decisions. Ipsos Synthesio brings the power of data hybridization in its SaaS platform. That's a lot of technical words. So what that means is we combine a variety of data sources beyond social. So that would mean also survey and search data to shed a most diverse light on consumers. Plus, we bring expert consultants around the globe. So this combination of technology and services helps our client uncover accurate and actionable insights and apply them with the right cultural and contextual nuance. When we talk about this contextual nuance and local context, I'd like to bring this example from 2018, where this car manufacturer released a car called Poop in French. And, you know, if they were with us at Ipsos Synthesio, that wouldn't have happened. If we move to the next slide, we will take a quick look at what we will learn today. So we prepared a packed agenda, so I will stop talking very soon, I promise. We'll start with the foundations for decoding market and trend insights from big consumer data. In this first section, Sandro will explore with you the 4 pillars of a consumer-led approach to market and competitive intelligence. Then we will discuss and present our proven framework for market exploration that leverages and applies decades of Ipsos expertise to ensure best-in-breed research rigor and insight impact. Third, we'll present a case study to demonstrate how we can identify growth opportunities in the healthy beverages market using social and search data. Lastly, our great Andrew will give us a live demo of our platform and show you exactly how we found these insights using tools like topic modeling and the trend lifecycle mapping. Technical words again, but Andrew will explain this all. Of course, we will keep 5 to 10 minutes at the end to answer your questions. And if we don't get to yours, I promise I will send you a proper email for that. So if we're ready, we can get started with some market exploration.
Thank you, Aurore, and a very warm welcome from my side too. It's a great pleasure for me to inspire you with some ideas and examples on how we can decode market and trend insights from big consumer data to find new innovation platforms and guide your brand strategy into the future. And I think we can all agree that understanding your market landscape at the speed of time has never been more essential than it is in today's context of economic uncertainty. Challenger brands are disrupting categories that were long considered undisruptible, with new propositions that cater behavioral shifts and consumer trends in your category. Discovering these emerging market opportunities and pressures early is critical to stay relevant with consumers and ahead of the competition. And with AI agents and big consumer data at everyone's fingertips, it should be all a walk in the park by now. But it's not. There's no shortage in data, but a shortage in impactful insights that are ready to action. Without appropriate data ecosystems, the right semantic AI capabilities, combined with the right insight frameworks, it can be quite a challenge and certainly not as agile as we need it to be. But that's why we are here today. During our session, we want to share our best practice ideas, our thinking and examples on how you can prioritize the where to play and formulate your how to win. But how can we get there, and what are the insight lenses we need to blend for a holistic understanding of the market landscape? First, we need to explore and chart the category in the way consumers define it. Here it's key to identify and analyze the moments, needs, pain points, or jobs to be done that truly matter to consumers in the category. We also need to map brands within this dynamic ecosystem of consumer behaviors and preferences to define your competitive landscape truly consumer-centric. And this would challenge the way we classically define our competition, as certainly we will find competitors from adjacent categories or the niche that you compete with on a specific need or occasion. Beyond, we need to identify the trends that are strongly connected to dominant and emerging needs and therefore drive behavioral change in the category. And these combined insight lenses will eventually allow us to uncover untapped opportunities from unmet needs, expectation gaps, or brand positioning white spaces to prioritize your innovation and brand strategy. But let's make this a little more tangible with a few examples. We use millions of consumer signals to map the market and competitive landscape in the way that consumers see and express it. This analysis enables us to understand and segment the category by moments, needs, pain points, and then chart how salient brands are within and what sets them apart. Here we see an example of a need-based brand association network in the skincare. After identifying the key needs and moments, we layer in how strongly brands are associated to these dominant need territories. Going beyond, we can obviously dig deeper down on a brand level, here by the example of Nuxe Paris, to unpack the distinctive assets and expectation gaps as they are voiced by consumers. We deploy dedicated semantic AI models to organically discover the brands within the category data universe, which proves to be powerful to also discover the emerging competitors from the niche or brands that enter from adjacent categories we did not expect. Now let's go a little further and overlay the perspective of consumer trends. Leveraging the dynamic nature of social and search data has proven its great value for trend insights over the past years. And we covered the importance of trend signal discovery and prediction in many previous Synthesio webinars and publications. However, it's important for us to emphasize on an important learning from a decade of establishing trend insight programs with our clients. An emerging trend signal is great, but it becomes truly powerful once the signal is strongly connected to key needs and pain points in the category, as it solves a consumer problem and therefore naturally embodies a growth opportunity. Here we see such an analysis that looks at the intersection of category needs and emerging microtrends in skincare, like antibacterial care, microbiome, and blue light protection. Alongside predictive analytics, this perspective is key for us to unfold the market trend and need horizon more holistically and prioritize the opportunity domains within. Over the years, we found evidence that trends with many connections to uprising needs have a stronger tailwind for acceleration, higher chances to stay, and therefore represent sustainable innovation opportunities. The last insight focuses on unmet needs or solution gaps to find untapped innovation opportunities off the beaten path. Essentially, we fall in love with consumer problems and focus on the negativity in consumer narratives with all the contextual details We use our need and opportunity mapping approach that plots the need landscape based on the need maturity on the x-axis and the need satisfaction on the y-axis to understand if those needs are well served by current available products or if we find promising solution gaps. Therefore, innovation opportunities are residue at the bottom of the chart where young needs or more mature needs are located that both are currently underserved by brands. This is the opportunity domain where emerging needs like castor oil for eyelash growth here in our eye care example, or more mature needs like eyelash extensions intersect with high frustrations, solution gaps, and category jobs that are yet to be done. All right, so now that we introduced the art of the possible, let's spend a few minutes on how we can get it done and how our Market Explorer framework works in practice. But before we go there, let me first clarify what we actually mean by analytical frameworks. At Ipsos Synthesio, our mission is to democratize actionable insights at scale in a self-serve or expert-supported experience for our clients. Our 6 analytic frameworks that we see here on the right ensure that we are delivering against this mission. They are validated and pressure-tested methodologies that combine use case-specific AI models, analytic techniques such as prediction models, and dedicated storytelling principles that help us to transform large data streams from various sources into actionable insights. These frameworks originate from extensive R&D with leading academic institutions like the MIT or the Columbia University in New York, and embody the intellectual property and subject matter expertise of Ipsos from the past 50 years. Therefore, they are the backbone for everything we do at Ipsos Synthesio, as they add structure and research rigor to digital data sets, and they enable us to unpack meta-learnings when combining multiple data streams. But most importantly, these frameworks are reliable, consistent on a global scale, and ensure evidence-based insights and impacts for our clients. Today, we focus on Market Explorer, our framework to decode and map the market landscape.
Hi, Sandro. I'm so sorry to interrupt. Some people are experiencing some audio difficulties. Is there any way you can try without your earphones? Would that be possible?
Yeah.
Sorry, everyone. We'll get that sorted.
Is it better now?
I think it's way better. Can people let me know in the chat if that works better?
Okay. Okay, sure. So, and as we all know, each data source has its unique value and its individual advantages and disadvantages. Over the past 3 years, data hybridization was the key strategic pillar in our product development and innovation roadmap, and powered by best-in-breed semantic AI and modeling functionalities. Our aim is to break down data silos and offer our clients with the most complete and diverse set of consumer data by connecting social, search, survey, and behavioral signals. Though I want to make clear that our goal is not to populate data for the sole purpose of introducing more data so that we all get even more data obese. We strive to blend the data streams in a meaningful and impactful way, defined by our clients' insight needs and the right use case behind. For example, today we will be looking at a combined perspective of social data to explore consumer expressions and trends, blended with search data to immerse deeper into category needs. Search data is as important as social data for our Market Explorer framework, as search behavior is arguably the most important data set ever collected on human nature, with all our desires, hopes, fears, and ideas on what's next that we type in a search bar every day. When a relevant need arises, our instant reflex is to turn to search to look for answers, products, places to buy, and ultimately make decisions. Here's how the Market Explorer method works in practice. We start off with AI-empowered topic modeling to identify the needs, moments, trends, brands, and any other relevant concept that we can find in the social and search data corpus. Next, we size each of the dimensions over time, analyze the velocity, so the speed of travel, to identify short and long-term shifts in the market landscape. In stage 3, we apply association mapping techniques to discover patterns and relationships across all the 3 topic types over time. In the last opportunity emergence stage 4, we deep dive into the contextual whys to help our clients define and prioritize the where to play and how to win. Let's have a word on the role of machine and human intelligence, and Aurore alluded to it in the introduction. The latest progressions in machine learning have led us to believe that machine intelligence can replace our research expertise and human intuition. But the idea of invincible AI algorithms that can magically extract previously unknown topics or trends remains a naive utopia. Exploiting the true value of big consumer data requires humanized AI with a meaningful blend of artificial and organic intelligence. Let me be clear, for the case study we introduced today, we collected and decoded more than 60 million consumer signals. And so AI is not only the backbone, but the ultimate enabler of projects of this kind. And beyond, unsupervised machine learning also does a way better job than humans in laying the market landscape and help us to surface the hidden layers that are often not visible to the human eye. Here we see an example of a trend cluster from the food category that the algorithm discovered without any human intervention or curation. Can you guess what this food trend is about? Yes, it's actually quite hard. Once identified, we must now make sense of the discovered trend cluster. This is where human intelligence becomes essential to uncover the true meaning and context behind the trend. And with this further examination, we begin to see that the trend cluster to the machine's surface is about fermented foods and eventually how that trend domain fits into the market landscape. Now let's have a look under the hood and make it all concrete from a client case study. The case we want to introduce aimed at identifying new growth opportunities in the US market using the example of Gatorade within the healthy beverage domain. Gatorade, as many of you know, is currently positioned as performance drink, strongly associated to electrolytes that help regulate the fluid balance in our body. The Gatorade line includes hydration drinks to help replace what we lose in sweat and energy drinks, which are formulated to fuel athletes. The sport drink market continues to grow, amplified by our desire to live a healthier and more active life. However, our goal was to identify growth opportunities within the healthy beverage space as a whole that skyrocketed in recent years with new challenger brands rising weekly, introducing new product concepts and new drink types. We start off with our AI-enabled topic modeling to explore the entire healthy beverage category from the bottom up by using social and search data that Andrew will show us in action in just a few minutes. By letting the data talk first, we are empowered to discover and lay the total market landscape with all dominant and weak signals that can represent needs, benefits, trends, pain points, and of course, products and brands. Then we use our analytic features in the Synthesio platform to analyze the velocity and maturity of each topic. Here, by the example of some selected needs and benefits we discovered in consumer narratives around healthy beverages. The mapping we see here with the lens of long-term velocity over the past year and short-term velocity for the last quarter enables us to distill which needs are on a rising or declining trajectory. This gives us the first idea which needs and benefits domain represent tactical opportunities for communication or brand strategy, in contrast to long-term opportunities from demand spaces that we see growing on the long run, such as beverages that support boosting immunity, electrolytes for a balanced hydration. Then we switch the time perspective from where the category landscape stands today, grounded on historic data from the past 2 years, to future growth scenarios using predictive analytics. This lens is critical to further prioritize sustainable opportunity platforms and navigate from the current need and trend landscape to the plausible future drivers of the category. The analysis revealed that protein, immunity, vitamin, and fitness need domains will continue to upsurge. Next, we layer in the healthy beverage brand landscape. Our semantic AI capabilities are designed to discover brands, products, or organizations that are present in the data corpus organically, which means that there is no need to develop a taxonomy for all imaginable brands and beverages. Using our brand entity recognition feature, we can now surface all the brands that appear in our healthy beverage social and search data universe from the bottom up. To identify the rising stars in healthy beverages, we started the discovery brands against velocity and maturity, so the size of the brands relative to each other. In total, we identified more than 500 products and brands that are voiced as healthy drinks by consumers. And we see a wild mix of well-known brands and products like V8, Gatorade, coconut water, smoothies, and brands that likely many of us never heard of before, like Recess, Spindrift, or Olipop. Here we see some rising stars that are worth highlighting. Growth rank number 1 is for kombucha. The interest in the ancient fermented tea emerged significantly over the past years and continues to grow because of its probiotic, antioxidant, gut and heart health benefits. Growth rank 4 goes to Flow Water, a fortified water brand that caters the infused water beverage trend with a broad range of infusions like collagens, vitamins for immunity, skin and hair health. Growth rank 7 is apple cider, which is maybe an unexpected in the context of healthy beverages. The consumer trend, also known as the mother of detox, gains in popularity across the globe, where consumers mix a spoon of unfiltered apple cider vinegar with water to kickstart their day and metabolism. The good bacteria and enzymes in the vinegar are known to strengthen the immune system, digestive health, and support to flush out toxins from the body. But last but not least, we see oat milk, mainly represented by Oatly, on growth rank 14. Really, oat milk is by now consumers' favorite plant-based milk alternative, definitely entered the mainstream as healthy beverage driven by its vitamin, high fiber, and blood sugar regulating benefits. From there, we can have a deeper look under the hood to uncover the key needs and benefits that consumers associate to some of the emerging brands. What makes these brands healthy in the minds of consumers? Does the trajectory of those brands grow alongside the need evolution in the category as a whole? The short answer is yes. We have seen conscious nutrition, protein, electrolytes, and digestive health are the strongest growing needs in the category. The rising star brands we discovered leverage the tailwind of those category drivers quite effectively. Oatly and Sprout are plant-based milk alternatives that are strongly associated to the benefit of protein-rich beverages. Health-Ade is distinctively positioned in the digestive health domain. And it doesn't come to a surprise that the electrolyte benefit is strongest for Gatorade and Vita Coco, the coconut water category captain in the US. For Flow Water, we see a more diverse association network as the brand offers a broad range of individualized infusions to cater a broad benefit and need spectrum, which seems to be quite a compelling concept. As the last step 4, we weave all the single insight lenses from social and search data together to a more strategic learning fabric. This aggregated big picture synthesis then enables us to prioritize and inform innovation brand or communication strategies for each opportunity. The need maturity combined with the past and predicted velocity led to the conclusion that the protein, immunity, and digestive health domain are most relevant as strategic growth territories. Once we prioritize the opportunity domains, our cultural analysts bring the important contextual drivers of change to life. Which formats and drink types are growing? Which ones are on the declining path? The analysis of key tensions and pain points brought to surface that many protein drink products are perceived as inconvenient to use. For example, powder products for out-of-home consumption. And the taste of protein-rich beverages is everything but a culinary experience for most consumers. We found that proteins for fitness and weight loss is currently on the growth cycle, whereas proteins for muscle buildup is declining in relative terms. We also saw a rise in search and social conversations for protein sodas, waters, and smoothie, unlike declining powder-based shakes or protein drinks. All these learnings were instrumental to define ideas for a winning growth formula in the category. we saw a growth opportunity for a ready-to-drink plant protein slim soda. Most protein sodas in the market use whey protein that are not suitable for vegan diets or the more general rising demand for animal-free nutrition. The concept idea needs to deliver a distinctive and improved taste experience with flavor combinations outside the current category standards. While protein-rich beverages today are still mainly consumed in a workout and muscle buildup context, we expect an uplift for beverages that support weight management and a holistic active lifestyle more in the mainstream. Therefore, we see a potential to propose a multi-benefit beverage that goes beyond protein, leveraging the fortified water concept with infused electrolytes, vitamins, and probiotics to address multiple needs that are on the rise at the same time. So I hope I could inspire you with some ideas on how big consumer data can be utilized to its full potential for exploring the market landscape in depth and cover new growth opportunities in a truly consumer-centric and agile. Now let's take a PowerPoint break and leave the floor to Andrew, who will demonstrate our Synthesio platform where all the magic happens.
Wonderful, thanks Sandro. Hopefully everyone can see my screen. So I just want to spend a bit of time showing you how our consumer intelligence platform aided us in exploring the market and identifying these white space opportunities. As with the case study Sandro just walked you through, we'll be focusing on the healthy beverages space. So a little bit of context, we've got a broad baseline query in here to capture conversations online about healthy beverages within the US. Now, as Sandro mentioned, at the start of our analysis, we really want to do some discovery and unearth these consumer needs, the trends and benefit domains that exist. So in this case, we've used bottom-up topic modeling to look at the broad healthy beverage conversation. This unsupervised machine learning technique uses the technology to do a lot of that legwork for us. And it does that by analyzing hundreds of thousands of conversations and surfacing organic consumer-generated conversation clusters. Now, it's important to note that these conversations aren't just being clustered based on the frequency of a particular keyword or phrase, but rather their semantic similarity and the meaning behind them. So as we can see in this particular study, the tool has created macro and micro clusters. And some of the needs and benefits that we unearth include consumers wanting to improve their teeth health. We've got tea for improved digestive systems in here, a consumer need of weight loss, quality hydration. And, you know, if we click into this apple cider vinegar trend as an example, we can see here that, you know, apple cider vinegar is being mentioned alongside having lots of antioxidants. And if we click into the health benefits, we can go to verbatim level and we're able to see those that are making up that cluster within there as well. So, you know, with any of these benefit domains and trends that we capture in this discovery module, it's not enough to just know that these exist. We want to be able to utilize this discovery, assess evolution, identify drivers, and understand the brand landscape that exists within them. So with any of these, let's take healthy teeth as an example, we can choose to track this cluster on an ongoing basis. And what that will allow us to do is explore it further within our reporting module. So yeah, topic modeling is very, very useful at the beginning of any of our workflows for doing that initial discovery. But if we do want to drill into the discovery a little bit further, oh, sorry guys. Having a couple of technical difficulties here. Apologies, there we go. So yeah, if we want to drill into these a little bit further, all of those discovered benefit domains that we find in topic modeling, you know, we can come into here into our reporting module and we can see how these are evolving in terms of volume shifts. But, you know, to really understand their significance, we want to be able to look at, you know, the short-term velocity, the long-term velocity, and ultimately the maturity of these benefit domains. So as we can see here within our maturity landscape, on the x-axis, we're looking at short-term velocity. On the y, we're looking at long-term velocity, and the size of these bubbles indicates the benefit domain's maturity. Now, as Sandro alluded to as well, it's also really important for us to understand the brands that exist within these benefit domains. So what we can do to highlight this is use our intensity heat map. And this really highlights the intersection between brand and a benefit domain by analyzing the correlation coefficient. So as we can see here for Gatorade, we've got a strong correlation coefficient between Gatorade and hydration and electrolytes, whereas something like Oatly as a brand is more closely associated with proteins and being protein rich. Now, let's take a benefit domain like protein. We might want to do a bit of a deep dive into this. And if that's the case, we can set up report pages that do that. So, let's take a look at protein as an example. Now, in this instance, we're looking at all of the conversations around protein. And we have incorporated not just social data into this analysis, but also Google search data to drill into the trends, need states, and the brand landscape. So, Sandro highlighted the importance of using multiple data sources to get this holistic picture, and that's why we've done that. But, before we jump into some of the search data findings, first of all, we ran another topic modeling study on protein drinks, and this auto-populates our report in here. And as we can see, some of the largest clusters that are appearing are around, unsurprisingly, protein shakes are coming up, but we also have protein waters appearing, protein sodas that are being mentioned. And what's really interesting is when we look at this trend of protein waters, the majority of this conversation that exists is largely positive. Now, we can see sentiment, but it's also important for us to understand the trajectory of these trends that exist within the protein beverage domain. And we can see both protein soda and protein waters have an upward trajectory, whereas something like protein shakes is pretty consistent, with the exception of some seasonality, as we can see within here during the summer and just before the dieting season in January. But yeah, it's really important to understand the growth of these as well. Now, we can also, as Sandro mentioned in his slides, drill into some of the products and brands and their relative velocities. So what we're looking at here is our life cycle chart. Now, for instance, if we have a look at the Ensure brand here, which is a product marketed as a high protein nutrition shake, this is just coming into the introduction phase. And the way that we determine that is by looking at both the volume of conversation, but also the growth rate. And then, firmly in the growth stage here is branched chain amino acids. Now, these are spoken about as being used in conjunction with protein as a supplement to, or as an alternative to. So yeah, very easy for us to find those emerging products, competitors, and brands that exist within this domain and look at their trajectory. Now, it's also really important that when we're trying to spot white space opportunities, that we understand the consumer need states for these protein-based beverages. So in this example here, what we've used is Google search data to understand the top questions and the prepositions associated with protein beverage searches on Google. Now, what was really interesting when we looked at this data is some of the top Google search questions that were being posed by the consumer is, when to drink protein shakes for weight loss, which was really interesting. We're also seeing lots of water-based questions coming up. Is protein water soluble? Can you mix protein powder with water? So there's a real need from the consumer there for something that is low calorie and that they can, consume with water. And when we looked at the prepositions that exist within Google searches as well, we could see losing weight was coming up a lot, protein for water. And people were even associating, protein ingestion with the keto diet as an example. Can I have my protein powder on keto? So again, we use this Google search data to really uncover some of these consumer needs and what the consumer was looking for, as well as what they were stating on social. Now, there's lots of ways in which we can visualize this. So an example here is our Sankey chart, where we can look at, protein drinks broadly, or we can hone in on protein waters, see the associated keywords that are coming up. Alternatively, in order to assess market opportunity, we really need to understand the brands that already exist within the space and are currently front of mind for consumers. So here we've used the aforementioned Google search data and our automated entity recognition to uncover the most searched for brands and products within protein beverages broadly, but also to hone in on that protein water trend that we discovered. So, as we can see, there's lots of brands with a large presence like Fairlife coming up within the general protein drink search conversation, but also smaller protein infused water brands coming up, such as Protein 2.0 and Trimino water. As with before with the social data, we don't just want to know that these exist. So with any of these, we can come in and we can map the brands that are being searched for in Google in terms of their search velocity, but also their search maturity as well. And this is all filterable. So we can come in here and we can say, let's look at it based on this short-term velocity. And you can see Protein 2.0 is something that's coming up here. People are also searching not only for the brands themselves, but where they can find them. Can I get protein water at Costco as an example? So yeah, hopefully that gives you an idea of how we can deep dive into one of these benefit domains. But, one of the biggest questions that we get asked by clients is around actionability. Let's say we develop a protein-rich soda water product, as Sandro mentioned earlier. Who do we target with this? Where and how do we target them? So, thus far, I've focused very much on what consumers are saying online and what they're searching for on Google. But our audiences module here allows us to identify and understand a target audience based on what they're clicking on, what they're browsing for, what they're reading, and even, where they're visiting in person as well. So we've created an overarching audience here of those interested in healthy living generally. So anyone that's interested in healthy diets, healthy food, lifestyles, and healthy habits. And, we're analyzing over 120 million people here in the US in this one study. And then what we've done is we've created subsegments of this audience. So these can be people who are interested in protein drinks, those that we've classified as being interested in holistic well-being, those with an active lifestyle. And we can even look at those who are interested in both protein and muscle building as an example. So using interests like weight training, muscle and fitness, and even certain weightlifting exercises to determine that audience. So let's take a look at our holistic well-being audience. Now, when we come in and explore the data within here, we're able to get an understanding of their socio-demographic makeup. So we can see within here that this is predominantly a young female millennial audience, a lot of whom are married and they're highly educated. We can even see the working industries that they exist within. But, if we want to understand some of their, hobbies and activities further, as an example, we can absolutely do that. And we can see here that there are some expected affinities for activities such as, yoga and CrossFit and running. But we can also understand that they're keen online shoppers. And, if we were thinking about the placement of our new water protein products, we can see that the audience in terms of their media consumption is very Instagram heavy in terms of their app usage, but they're also, magazine and podcast enthusiasts. So, you can start to see how we're building out an audience profile that we could potentially use for content creation or media placement and advertising of this protein infused water product that sort of Sandro alluded to earlier. So hopefully that's given everyone a bit of an idea of how we use the platform to inform the analysis we're doing, and the machine, using the machine to do some of that legwork for us. So I know we've got a little bit of time left, so I just want to make sure that we leave time for questions. So I think Aurora is going to talk us through some of the questions that might have come up in the chat.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much, Andrew. And thank you so much to our audience today that has been very patient with our little audio trouble. So thank you everyone in the chat that has been very kind to me and asking a lot of questions. So let's start with Cynthia. Sorry if I misspell your name. Asking how frequently should we do this exercise? And I think Cynthia was referring to this slide talking about the brand and need association mapping.
Yes, it's a good one. I think the answer is, as always, it depends, right? It depends on the frequency of change and so forth. But what we do with most clients who embark on programs of this kind is really to have a combination of really dashboard access, like everything that Andrew just introduced, combined with more strategic reporting. And if you have this program in place, you can really decide pretty much on demand if you would need a more strategic deep dive report from us to really hone in on the granularities to understand if some fundamental shifts happen in the category, or if it's still as true as it was the first time you introduced that. I do think there is a lot of change. We looked at a category today that is quite dynamic. Cosmetics and foods are as dynamic, but there may be other categories that are less so. So it would be sufficient to look at it probably once a year. So I guess it depends a little bit on the market and the category and the level of involvement of consumers related to these categories. But overall, I would look at it at least once a year. And ideally, you have a dashboard in place where you can keep track of things yourself and then bring us in the moment you want to go a level deeper.
Thank you, Sandro. And Garima asks us, what are the best practices to write the most relevant query with less noise in the data? And actually, I had a similar question from Taylor asking, as generative AI increases the proportion of social content that's not authentic human origin, how is Synthesio ensuring that all the strong tools you shared today aren't biased?
Yeah, absolutely. I can take that one. So query writing, I like to say, is an art rather than a science, but we've put a lot of stuff in place to ensure that, you know, we help on the way to getting to a clean sort of consumer-centric data set. And as an example, we have what we call noise reduction filters. So these are algorithms that we've created that will automatically pick up on bots, automatically pick up on auto posting, ads and promotions. So all of that can automatically be excluded at the beginning when you create your base query. And what we also use is we use an entity normalized search function. So, you know, you don't have to write out long queries as an example. We can take the brand Apple, where, you know, if you were to just type in Apple into your query, you're going to get a lot of noise within there. Our entity normalized search engine will automatically recognize that you're looking for Apple, the organization, or an Apple product, and it will you know, define that for you within the setup phase. So there's lots of ways that we can ensure that we get clean data to start with. Yeah, so there's lots in place for that.
I hope we answered you properly, Taylor and Garima. We're at time, so I suggest we take one last question from Raj, asking, can this type of analysis be done for corporate company brands?
Yeah, so when we think about an umbrella, yeah, absolutely. The question then would be like how we define a category, right? Because I assume that this corporation operates across various categories, but yes, of course, there's no limitation. And our brand recognition algorithm that Andrew introduced earlier works for organizations as well as individual products and brands. So it will be automatically from the bottom up, discovered, and we can do exactly the same on an organization level versus individual brands.
Okay, I'm receiving tons of questions, so maybe the audience wants to get one more. Let's get one more. Oh, okay, as I am not familiar with Synthesio, I want to ask the data source of your audience. Where do you collect data? I think it was regarding the profiler segment.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. So for the audience piece that we went through at the end, the data source is actually Meta. So what we do is we connect to the ads API, and this tracks users who have the Facebook app, Instagram, WhatsApp, Messenger. So what we do is we're not just looking at in-app activity, it's what we call the digital body language, if you like. So when you have a Meta app on your phone or on your any device for that matter, they're not just tracking your in-app activity, but also what you're browsing, the other apps you have on your phone, your location. And that's the data that we utilize for that audience profiling. So yeah, it was originally intended for advertising purposes, but we have sort of repurposed it and applied a market research methodology to it in order to use it for audience profiling. So yeah, that's where the data comes from.
Okay, well, I see that some questions we won't have the time to get to today, but I will make sure that we send you a proper email tomorrow. We'll also send you the recording and the slides. Again, thank you so much for joining us today. It was a pleasure, and talk to you soon.
Thank you.